too. I mean, I'm seeing more and more artists are offering, buy my record and get the second record.
Yeah. I know, or T-shirts, or
Right.
I always wanted to make an album where you get something like, I don't know, yeah, maybe like some kind of, in the CD case you can put an amulet or some interesting thing. What I really like is like, this is probably impossible now, but like something where actually every release would be different. A long time ago there was a group called I Brain Eater from Vancouver, Canada, and this guy actually, like, they made a plastic, like when there was those flexi discs, and they made a flexi disc, and he actually painted every cover. Like, they had this crepe paper cover for the single, and then it had like every one of them was an individual design, because he painted like the cover for each one. And I don't know how many they made, but like, I mean, you can imagine if you wanted to sell it. I mean, these days you're not going to sell anyway 10,000. So I mean, you could do it. You could do like 500 copies and say this is the special version, something like that. I'm still looking at something really original, because it is really hard now, like with all the digital and everything. To have people even want a physical release.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I realize even myself that just making a double CD isn't really going to cut it. It's going to have to be, I've got to come up with a whole concept of what it's about. And the other thing is, I'm not really interested anymore in these kind of sort of clubby songs. I'm happy that we did some like Sanctuary and stuff like that, but I'm kind of, I think for life's work, it's it has to be something that's a bit more grounded and more timeless, because actually when Psyche first started, that was more our thing. I wanted to know that the music I was making could actually be listened to 10 or 20 years later and still sound fairly fresh, or be interesting to people that, grew up with a different understanding of electronic music. And I think, some of our songs have achieved that, and that's actually more important to me than some kind of pop hit.
Right. What do you think you need to do as an artist to stay viable in the digital age?
Oh boy, well, it's a biggie. And I can see lots of people. I mean, the most important is to look at artists who've been around for ages, that grew through the time before all this crap. I follow a few people and check out their websites, like Blondie and even Mark Allman, to see how is, I mean, if they're not on a major label anymore, then the first thing is, like, if they're on a major label, they're going to have like flash banners all over the place, and then there's like those places like Rhapsody and Last FM and all that. I'm very totally digitally aware, and I do realize that if I want to do something that's going to be heard everywhere, like you have to have a pretty good budget. I think what's really good about digital is that you don't necessarily have to have tons of money for the studio, and you don't need to, I mean, basically you just have to save a lot of money for promotion, and I think and create a market out of it. And what I've noticed, which was a big change, is I also first started buying stuff on iTunes since, it's only been about 3 or 4 years. I also thought, like, yeah, I mean, just an MP3. It's like, it's terrible, because I mean, everyone can get them illegally still.
Right.
And so it's not really inspiring to actually even pay 99 cents for a damn thing. And I mean, now I've got albums. We have a compilation like Misguided Angels, and I saw that they recently dropped the price now to €7 on Amazon, and I was like, holy fuck, this is a whole album with 16 songs, and I'm only getting €7. So it's like,
right.
I mean, definitely music is becoming, less, I don't want to say less value, but I mean, it's just like, I don't know. The one thing I noticed, which I think is the future, and it will be the future for all independent musicians, is streaming audio. And that basically means that now you're making an album that is going to be listened to for free.
Right.
And you're going to get paid by how popular you are, really. I mean, like, a good example is Last FM and Rhapsody. And I think MySpace, too. I actually, just as you called, I got a statement for the last quarter of my digital sales, and so I was just looking through it to see if I can make sense of it all. And MySpace Music also pays for, I guess, when the people are listening to your songs on your player. And but I mean, we're talking about like to give an example, one of the titles had, I don't know, 850 on-demand streams, and that me not even $1. I mean,
Ooh.
so this will be the future for independent artists. They're going to have to be really bold and push themselves so that they get heard and seen as much as like the major label releases, because they really still have the advantage regardless of what's happened to the industry. The majors, as long as they still have their money, they still have the advantage that they can really get their product heard.
Right.
I mean, more than independent artists. And so that's my one of the reasons why I hadn't made an album for such a long time, is that I've really been sort of observing all this, and I'm thinking, okay, so like when I am ready with something and I want the whole world to hear it, I have to really be ready with the how do you get that across to everybody?
Right. Yeah, now is the downloading in Europe different than what is happening here in the States, or is it pretty much the same on both sides?
That's I would like to know a bit more myself, because I can tell you that the most recent release, I mean, even though I haven't made an official new album, we had this Until the Shadows compilation for Metropolis, and the physical sales are completely crap compared to the digital ones. So I've been told more times in the last 2 years that it's getting close to not really even having a point to making a CD in North America. So I can tell you that in Europe, and especially Germany, the CD is not dead yet, and DVDs and Blu-ray are definitely still happening, although I think Blu-ray is going to take over soon. And and so, I mean, people still are going in and browsing in the stores and stuff like that, and still want a physical release. Apparently it's even been up a little bit in the last year as far as physical sales go, but the only way to do it is like your release really is always these limited things, like where you've got, some people get a double CD, or they get the whole package with the DVD and the CD, and then that'll be like really expensive, and there'll probably be I guess 1,000 or whatever, and then once they're sold, that's it. Then there's like a small run of the normal CDs, and otherwise the digital thing is definitely. Often albums will show up on Amazon like a week before that you can actually get the physical CD, and then so you can see if you're going to buy. The other thing is the price difference. If you're going to buy an album, it'll be like, I don't know, €7 to €9 for a complete album on Amazon, and a digital album, and the CD is so usually $15.95, $16.95.
Yep.
So it's almost like the labels and all the companies are saying, don't bother with our plastic and silver disc, because it's like it's going to cost you more. So.
Right.